So we started this series last week. It was an episode that we had recorded a while back, but we knew you'd be gone on your vacation and stuff, so we figured this last week, episode 45, would be a good opportunity for us to release that. So we started with a series on all of the best Vikings to wear each jersey number.
Yeah.
So in that episode that we released last week, we covered jersey numbers 0 through 19.
Yep.
And you'll know if you watch us that it was an episode recorded a while ago because we still had our old setup here.
Yeah, the recliners and
stuff, which was kind of fun for me to look back on and remember.
But we did not yet have the Skol Man Center here.
Yep.
So.
Skol Man Center. I like that.
I just came up with that off the top of my head here.
I like it. And I like that you emphasized the man part, because this is like a man cave.
Well, I really was trying to say like command.
Oh,
so
I got it.
I missed the D at the end of the word.
It has like a triple meaning though.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it was on purpose that I didn't. No, it was totally an accident. Also, one thing right off the bat, we started off with jersey number 0. When we had recorded that episode, I think it was even while the season was happening, or even just after this most recent season ended. The only number 0 in Vikings history that I believe was Marcus Davenport at the time. He's gone. Ivan Pace is currently number 0, and I think we're both pretty happy about that. But we didn't mention that in the last episode because that hadn't happened yet when we recorded. So
yeah, Marcus Davenport needed to go.
Yes,
and he did.
Yeah, he took his money and ran. Again, I'm sure he's a nice person, but he did almost nothing for the Vikings. So
he did us dirty.
Yeah, he did. He did what his number said he would do. So hopefully, Ivan Pace, he's already done more than what his number says and what Marcus Davenport did. So, anyways, just had to point that out. We know there were a couple of inaccuracies in that, but not too many. It was still a good episode.
Yeah, we had a YouTube commenter that corrected me on Todd Bauman.
Yeah,
which you are correct. The towns that you referenced, I think you said he was from Ruthven, Minnesota, very close to Pipestone, which is kind of where my family hails from.
I just took you at your word. So
we claim Todd Bauman from Pipestone.
Okay.
So, anyways, good corrections. We need a stat guy though, or we need somebody to.
All right, hey Jimmy, the stat guy. I forget what I named him last time.
We need somebody to call us out when we make these claims.
Yep.
Anyways, we're gonna continue the series.
Yep.
And we probably need to hustle unless this is gonna be a 3-hour episode.
Well, so I was kind of sifting through. I kind of cheated a little bit earlier and looked at all of the Vikings to wear all these jersey numbers. I kind of took away, if you are an up-and-coming Viking, we kind of said this on the last episode too about one of the numbers, like 16 or something. If you, or maybe even 6, I don't know. But if you are an up-and-coming Viking and you're really trying to make your moment, put your stamp on a beloved number, kind of like Adam Thielen did with number 19, he kind of made it cool. If you want to make a number your own, really any number in the 30s.
Yeah.
you can hold it, and if you're good, we will love to wear that number 38, which I don't know. We'll go through it, but 38 specifically, there was like a 9-year gap. Just nobody wore that number in like a regular season game. So
wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty wide open one. But anyways.
Well, let's really quickly remind everybody, I've got this article from Vikings Wire pulled up. This just lists 0 to 99 and what they think is the best player to wear each number. So they list one player for each number. And then we've also got the Pro Football Reference where you can search each number and see a list in their database based on the number of everybody. So we're starting with 20 here, and so like the first number 20, for example, would be Mackenzie Alexander. I think it's alphabetical by last name, which would make sense.
And you can adjust that too, even by. So one thing cool about Pro Football Reference, they have their AV score, which approximate value is kind of like how good of a player you were at your position. So it's kind of a nice bullet point to look like, oh, that guy's got 100. He was really good. Or that guy has a 2. He didn't do anything. So you can kind of adjust that tool to see who's the best, who wore it the longest, what era they were in. So, yeah, we're doing 20 to 39 today. And 20.
We alternated last time.
Yeah.
Should we alternate again?
Sure.
I don't remember how or what we did.
I don't know. I think it was just just one or the other. So, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
How about you go first?
Okay. So
I'll do the odd numbers.
Number 20. Yeah, not a ton of historically great Vikings to wear this number. I don't even know who wears it right now. I got the list pulled up, so I'm cheating a little bit. Looks like Jay Ward wears it right now. Duke Shelley had it for that one kind of fun year that we all liked. That he was a Viking. Jeff Gladney, first round pick, same year as Justin Jefferson, the late Jeff Gladney. I don't know who the best number 20 would be, so I'm gonna cheat. Pro Football Reference says the best Viking to wear number 20 looks like Bobby Bryant from 1968 to 1980.
And that's what the Vikings Wire article also says as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, number
51
20,
interceptions, 161 games. Only played with the Vikings his whole career. So that's pretty sweet.
And pretty typical of that era of football.
Yeah.
The 60s, 70s. So.
All right. So I cheated, but I'm still saying Bobby Bryant.
Robert Smith wore the number for a season.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
He wore it his first season, his rookie year, 1993. I didn't know that. I just saw that on the list.
There you go.
And it stuck out to me. So I've got his jersey right here, and
Yeah.
obviously he was 26 for most of his career.
He may come up again in our conversation here.
He absolutely will. Because 26 isn't too far away from 20.
Yep.
But I guess I didn't know that he started with the number 20.
Yeah, neither did I.
There you go.
All right, 21. Who's the best Viking to wear 21?
21. Nobody jumps off the page at me at 21.
The first one I could think of was Jerick McKinnon.
Mm.
I think he started with 31, but after a couple of years he switched to 21. He was always a nice little scat back with the Vikings. He's had a good career after the Vikings, but yeah, I've liked him.
So I'm cheating. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's no secret to the fact that we're staring at our computer screens right now. But Corey Chavis is one that stands out to me.
Yeah.
He was a good guy.
He
Good
was.
player.
I had a Twitter interaction with him many, many, many years ago. He's currently known for draftnasty.com, I think is what it is. Puts out a bunch of good draft time content, rates all the incoming guys and who's good, who's not, specific numbers and stuff. But he was on Paul Allen's show one time and said something to the tune of like, oh, college freshmen shouldn't be up for the Heisman Award because they never have been. And I said, well, it's not that way anymore. If you're the best, you're the best. Doesn't matter. That was many years ago. But yeah, Corey Chavis, really good.
20 picks, 2 touchdowns.
I think he played for the Rams at the end of his career.
Yep, he had 3 seasons with the Rams before he retired.
Yeah.
And he started with Arizona. He started with the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that too. Yeah, good player. And right in the era of us being childhood Vikings fans.
Yeah,
so.
he became a Viking in 2002, which we would have been 11, 12. Yeah. And then his last season with the Vikings was 2005. We were in high school.
I thought he played longer for the Vikes, but I guess not.
4 seasons, it says here. And Vikings Wire has Corey Chavis as the best to wear 21.
Yep, that would make sense. Currently, it looks like...
The only other better one, according to Pro Football Reference, would be Terry Allen from 91 to 94.
Okay.
He was a running back. Kind of bounced around a lot in his career. Only played 3 seasons with the Vikings. His first 3.
Okay. And it looks like currently a Caleb Evans wears that number. So jury's still out on him. He's kind of slipping a little bit. But
yeah. Yep.
All right, 22. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can think of just one. So I'm on record as saying, and I'll advocate for this until they do it. When Harrison Smith retires, they need to immediately dual retire number 22 in honor of Harrison Smith and Paul Krause. I would venture to say, stat-wise, Paul Krause is still like ranked the best 22 in Vikings history.
Yep.
Just because of the interception numbers. And not just because he was really good. But it's hard. I don't think I could personally pick between Krause and Harrison Smith on who I think is the better number 22.
He is a legend.
Oh, yeah. Both of them.
Vikings history.
And Krause is a Hall of Famer, and I think Harrison Smith definitely should be a Hall of Famer.
The fact that Harrison Smith is already a legend and is still playing and playing at a high level says something.
Yeah.
But Harrison Smith will be a player that we tell our grandkids about someday. Yeah. Like, we'll be sitting around and just, Harrison Smith, man, he was a guy, you know.
Also, if you haven't seen it yet, Evan and listeners, I think the Vikings were the one to put it out on YouTube, maybe even just Vikings.com. A handful of months ago, I think since this 23 season ended, they did a nice video of Harrison Smith visiting Paul Krause's famous garage man cave area and spending some time together and kind of talking it up for a while. That was really cool to see. So I might actually go back and watch that again. That was a cool video. So do yourself a favor, go watch that one. But I think both of us can agree the best of all time to wear 22 is a tie between Krause and Smith.
Yes.
But if we had to say one, maybe Krause. I don't know.
Agreed. One of the first things they pointed out when we were at the Vikings Museum, the guy that we were the only ones there.
Nice.
He kind of gave us a little like mini tour, but he pointed out all of the retired numbers and he kind of gave a little explanation saying, you know, the league is really trying to tell franchises not to retire numbers, that whole thing. And they're doing more of the Ring of Honor type of stuff. And but there was a nice little display of all the retired numbers from Vikings franchise, which is pretty cool. And then the Ring of Honor was right next to it. And then like the first thing you walk into is the Hall of Fame footballs on either side, which is also pretty cool.
Yeah, so we could almost do another little mini series or an episode on specifically Vikings retired numbers and who else should and will get retired at some point. I still think it's appalling that the number 84 is available to Vikings players right now. Definitely should be retired. But that's another topic for another time.
We've got a few episodes to go before we get to 84 too.
Yeah, we do. All right, 23, Ev, I think you're up.
Michael Bennett, 23.
Okay,
Michael Bennett. Was he the Wizinator guy?
No, that was Ontario Smith.
Same era though, kind of.
Yeah, I think they were teammates at one point.
They played together.
Yeah. Okay. So, Pro Football Reference would disagree with you stat wise. Says Ted Brown, who I believe is a Hall of Famer. I might be wrong on that. I don't know, but they've got Ted Brown ranked with an approximate value of I lost it. Dang it, 58, which is pretty decent.
Yeah.
There is not currently a number 23 for the Vikings. If they are, it's an off-season deal. I can't think of who would be wearing it right now. I like your choice.
Michael Bennett was a good back.
Yeah, he was. I think, not to crap on him, I think he ended up getting in a little bit of trouble after he retired. But I don't know, and I probably shouldn't even say that because I can't tell you exactly what it is. So maybe he didn't.
Well, I saw a graphic like earlier this week that the Vikings lead the league in arrests since like 2000 or something like that, and of course the Love Boat thing and all that kind of drive those numbers up. But you know, it is what it is. Anyways, 24.
All right, 24. Oh, man. I'm trying to do this without cheating in it initially, at least. I can't think of who wears it right now. Cam Bynum. He wears 24. And he's pretty good.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know. There's probably an obvious, Hall of Famer that wore it. Right now, I'm just going to say Cam Bynum, and here I'm going to cheat now.
There's a good one in there from the 90s, mid 90s.
Oh, Robert Griffith. Dang it. I can't believe I forgot about him. Cam Bynum. I forgot Mackenzie Alexander in his second stint wore 24 because his initial number of 20 was taken by, I believe, Jeff Gladney when Alexander came back. So, yeah, Captain Munnerlyn, he was a good Viking for a couple years.
Yep.
Trying to think. Who else? Who does Pro Football Reference have? Yeah, it's Robert Griffith. They say is the best Viking 24 of all time. So, is that who our list has too? That you've been going off of?
Pro Football?
Or no, was it Vikings Wire that you were looking at?
Vikings Wire has Robert Griffith.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, fair. Absolutely fair.
Yep.
All right. 25.
25. Let's see here. Dig through. My brain doesn't work this way. But we could go with
There have been a lot of 25s in Vikings history.
Yes.
And just a couple of kind of flashy names.
I'm going to go with a guy that I wish was still a Viking. I think he's still playing. And he wasn't a Viking for very long.
All right.
Latavius Murray.
Okay. Yeah, he's bounced around a little bit. He was the, he came in the same time Dalvin Cook came in.
Yeah.
And initially, he was deemed... He was the biggest free agent signing at the moment he signed for the Vikings.
Yep.
And it was right after Adrian Peterson moved on to the Saints, I believe. And there was a little bit of a story, too, because Latavius Murray with the Raiders wore 28. And he initially came out and was like, hey, don't worry, guys. I am not wearing 20. I'm not going to even try to wear 28 with the Vikings. But yeah, that's a good choice. Alex Madison, he came in starting to wear number 25 for most of his Vikings career.
Yep.
Pro Football Reference has, someone named Kurt Knopf as the best Viking to wear number 25 in 1979 and through 82, I think.
What position did he play?
He played defensive back. That is one thing. Pro Football Reference, they don't differentiate between cornerback and safety or anything. So defensive back.
I mean, if you're Josh Metellus, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I mean, you just play everything.
Defensive tackle, for all you know.
Pro Football, not Pro Football. Vikings Wire has Vency Glenn, safety Vency Glenn, as the best Viking to wear number 25.
And a very similar score. So Pro Football Reference has Kurt Knopf at a score of 20 and Vency Glenn at a score of 18. So there's probably some good argument there. Players who I'm very sorry, guys. I'm hearing their names for the first time right now.
Yeah. Well, and neither of them had long stints with the Vikings, 2-3 years. So
another number somebody could really put their stamp on if they wanted to try to be the best. Currently, it's Theo Jackson who wears 25 for the Vikings. Another safety.
What about 26?
Oh man, I don't know, man. So there are two. There's one clear cut, but man, you could really argue a second one. I know. So I'm gonna say Robert Smith, just because that's the clear cut. But the more I think about it, the more I say this is almost like a Kraus Smith situation. We have Robert Smith, who I'm gonna say is the best. But then you have Antoine Winfield Sr. Mm-hmm. Who may be the best Viking free agent signing of all time. Antoine Winfield was amazing. As a Vikings fan, I think Robert Smith retired right around the time I started becoming a diehard fan. So that's probably where I'm pulling more for Winfield, because I saw all of Winfield as a Viking. But at least Robert Smith only ever played for the Vikings. Winfield did he started in Buffalo, then with the Vikings. I think he latched on with the Seahawks for a year. I don't really know. But
Pro Football Reference has him ending his career in Minnesota.
Who? Antoine Winfield?
Yeah.
There was a weird time because he was cut. He was a cap casualty at the end. But he was starting to get older, so I think he was an off-season and didn't end up making the team in Seattle, which is crazy to think that Antoine Winfield didn't make the team. But that was right when the Legion of Boom was starting to form, so probably pretty competitive backfield when Winfield started there. So, yeah, Robert Smith, best Viking 26 of all time, but a close second for Winfield.
Vikings Wire has Antoine Winfield.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, hard to argue.
I could see it being a tie. Mm-hmm. Some other interesting names, Kene Nwangu currently wears 26. Trey Waynes.
Oh,
who
yeah.
was
Former first-round pick.
Okay. He wasn't bad.
Yeah. I don't know if it's public knowledge. I definitely don't know anything the public wouldn't know, but I have a hunch Trey Waynes' career was hampered by injury because he really dropped off. Like, he was pretty good and then stopped and then never did anything with the Bengals, I believe.
He had one season with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That was it. So, anyways, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
27.
27.
27. We're going to go with... I think this is another number that somebody could really make their own if they wanted to. I want to know who wears it currently. Dwayne McBride wears
which
it
is
currently.
kind of not to crap on anybody. He's a good football player, but he also spent most of his rookie year on the practice squad. And he's going to be battling for a very crowded running back room as it is right now.
Yes, agreed.
But yeah, current 27.
So I'll cheat just because it's not a super common number in Vikings lore at this point. Both Pro Football Reference and Vikings Wire have defensive back John Turner, who played from 78 to 87.
24 interceptions, 116 games.
It's not bad.
1 touchdown, and he played all but 1 year for the Vikings, the other one being San Diego. And there was like 5 or 6 years with the Vikings, 1 for San Diego, and then back to Minnesota for his last couple of years. So pretty decently long career, 9 years, 9 seasons. Yeah, I mean, we definitely would know him just off these numbers right now. He'd be somebody people would be excited about signing in free agency. So yeah, probably the best pick at that number.
There you go. I do remember Corey Fuller from my childhood.
Okay.
He was... Pro Football Reference has him at the second best to wear 27.
We also can't forget... Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good.
We can't forget...
Cam Dantzler?
Well, yeah, that's a good one. I think this one's even better, though. Fred Smoot.
Yeah.
I have his autograph.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fred Smoot.
Fun fact.
What a guy.
Yeah. Brian Russell, I weirdly remember in the backfield for a couple years. That was 02 to 04. That was right when I was starting to become a childlike diehard Vikings fan. So, yeah.
All right, 28.
I don't know. I don't know if I can pick one. So, obviously, Adrian Peterson.
There aren't many to wear 28.
Yeah. And it has been, like, unofficially retired. I think there's currently someone, if you look at the full roster right now, somebody holds that number.
AJ Green the third.
Yeah, that he won't hold that number if he makes the team. Nobody will. It's been unofficially retired since Adrian left the team, and he last played for the Vikings in 2016. So that's what 8 full seasons since someone's worn that number for the Vikings. That's another one that I would advocate. Off the field stuff, whatever, but on the field, you just have to officially retire that number. Like, there's 100 numbers to choose from. I will advocate for 2 more to be retired, and that's one of them.
There's another pretty big name Viking to wear this, not necessarily in our lifetime.
Yeah. Ahmad Rashad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd still say Adrian Peterson.
Oh, yeah. For sure. He's the top, and we'll double check here. But yeah, Vikings Wire has AP as the best to wear that. I don't think anybody would argue that. But Ahmad Rashad was he's really good player in his own right in the late 70s, early 80s.
But to put it a little bit in perspective here, Ahmad Rashad's approximate value, according to Pro Football Reference, is 52. Adrian Peterson's is 106. So
yes,
there is a little bit of a difference there.
just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, 29. I feel like this is another number that's like, no.
There's kind of one sneaky one, who I would say
Xavier Rhodes.
Yeah. And just because he had 1 or 2 just amazing seasons, like he was, for those 1 or 2 seasons, arguably the best cornerback in football. but then just took a sharp downturn, and Zimmer wouldn't go away from him. But yeah, he was really good. Other kind of notable ones, Chester Taylor had a 1,000-yard season for the Vikings right before Adrian was drafted, almost to the point that at the time I was confused. Like, why are you drafting a running back with number 7 overall when you got 1,000 yards and a pretty decent season out of this one guy? You know, obviously I was wrong. Thank goodness. Yeah, not too many other names. Pro Football Reference for number 29 would have the first Viking to wear that as the best Viking, a name I haven't heard of before, Carl Kasulki. Sorry, Carl. Although you're a Scotty, so oh well. Defensive back from what? Oh, I lost it. 63 to 72. He played for the Vikings, so I guess that is statistically probably the best Viking to wear number 29. But I'd agree with you. Probably Xavier Rhodes at this point.
That's what I would go with. Vikings Wire has Carl Kasulki as the best.
Okay.
What about number 30?
Number 30. I mean, okay, so I can think of two names. Currently it's CJ Ham, and he's my knee-jerk best number 30. Although Mewelde Moore was pretty good for a few seasons for the Vikings, he also wore number 30. I'm just gonna ham it up and say the best one is CJ Ham.
I'd say in recent years, yeah, for sure.
Oh, I'm totally wrong. But
Mewelde Moore?
No.
Is that who you're thinking of?
Well, I'm looking at the list here, and I've forgotten.
Bill Brown?
Bill Brown.
Yeah.
That is the correct answer. Bill Brown. I think he's a Hall of Fame running back. Yeah.
He started with the Bears, interestingly enough.
And then played one season there and played the other 13 years with the Vikings. Not overly electric stats, 5,700 yards rushing for the Vikings, 50 touchdowns, but yeah, that's the right answer. He is the best number 30 in Vikings history. Sorry, CJ Ham, you're my favorite, but
we're all entitled to our favorites.
Yeah.
All right, 31. Amir Abdullah comes to mind.
Okay, yeah, he had a flashy-ish kind of tenure.
He only comes to mind because he was a Nebraska Cornhusker before he was a Viking. And my family has some ties. My wife's dad went to Nebraska, and my sister's husband also went to Nebraska for his master's degree. So I watched Nebraska with a little bit of interest, and I remember watching Amir Abdullah in college and thinking, man, he's a good player. And then when he ended up playing for the Vikings, like, wow,
yeah,
all right, we got a good guy here. And he ended up doing mostly kick return, punt return stuff, but he was
a speedy running back.
Yeah,
had a few flashy plays and games, but not like a career changer or anything. So yeah, this is, I'll say it again, this is another number 31 that somebody could make their mark. I think our current Vikings rookie, the 25-year-old cornerback,
Kyrie Jackson.
Yeah, he's the current holder of the number 31. He even tweeted out, I think when he was assigned that number, when it was officially like his, he tweeted out a picture of that number, and he's like, ew. And I think Josh Metellus was like, welcome to the big leagues or something like that. So he may change his number at some point. For whatever reason, players don't love the look of 31, because no Viking has the best Viking to wear it, according to Pro Football Reference, has an approximate value of 16, and that's Rick Fenny.
Rick Fenny.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what USA Today, or the Vikings Wire, which is hosted by USA Today.
All right, 32. Says. I have a name in mind.
All right.
Can you think of any? Well, maybe you're already looking at it. I was going to say, before you looked at it, could you have thought of any Vikings to wear 32?
Ty Chandler.
Oh, currently, yeah.
Right?
He's got a lot of potential. Yep. He hasn't done a whole ton, actually done a whole ton, but he's got a lot of potential. Fan favorite, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
The name I initially thought of was Toby Gerhart.
Oh, yeah.
Another guy that seemed to have more potential than actual on-field performance, but he was a good change of pace back in the Adrian Peterson era for a couple seasons. And I don't know of many other Vikings to wear 32. We've mentioned another one in this conversation.
The Wizinator?
Yep, the Ontario Wizinator Smith.
Yep.
Who, another guy that, and maybe it was the roids, he seemed to have a lot of potential, and then just pissed it all away.
Yep. Literally. So, So there's a disagreement here between Vikings Wire and Pro Football Reference.
Okay.
Pro Football Reference has Oscar Reed, who was a running back from, 1968 to 1974.
Okay. Before our time.
Yep. So 60s and 70s, they have Oscar Reed with an AV of 26, but Vikings Wire has Amp Lee.
Interesting.
As the best to wear 32, 94 to 96. Amp Lee was also a running back, but only for a few years. He bounced around San Francisco, Minnesota, St. Louis in the mid to late 90s.
All right.
So
Ty Chandler, you can really make your mark on this number. You don't have a ton of competition, and your only competition on the field is a 30-year-old running back. So get after it, man. Make us smile and cry tears of joy after all your touchdowns.
All right, 33. Man, this was another tough one. I don't know. This one seems pretty wide open to me at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you thinking the current guy or so?
Well, I mean, before the NFL changed their number rules, Dalvin Cook kind of owned 33. That was his number. And let's see here. Dalvin Cook, according to Pro Football Reference, is the best Viking to wear that number currently with an AV of 46, and Vikings Wire agrees. Dalvin Cook is the best. Oddly enough, the picture on this article has Dalvin Cook wearing
number 4.
Number 4. So that's kind of a funny picture. But anyways, yes, Aaron Jones, newest addition to the Vikings, will wear 33.
Are you sure? Yeah, he will, because I forgot. What did they say Brian Osmo is going to wear now? They might share that number. I don't know.
Right now, on the Vikings website, Aaron Jones is in sole possession of the number 33.
Okay. What's it got? Asamoah at?
Let's look. He is number 2.
Interesting.
Brian Asamoah, number 2.
Okay. He's just following the Vikings running back. Next year, he'll be a Raider or something. I don't know. Yeah. So I think Dalvin Cook, he was, for me, underrated. Like, I will end up probably forgetting a little bit of the Dalvin Cook era. Just maybe because as Vikings fans in the run game for the past darn near 20 years, we've been very lucky, and maybe 15 years, we've been very spoiled to have one of the greatest of all time and then a very good replacement come in Dalvin Cook. So, yeah. And
Dalvin Cook, 2019, I'm just looking at his stats right now. 2019 through 2022, he was an 1,100 plus rusher each of those 4 seasons. Yeah. His best season being 2020 when he went for 1557.
Yeah, and he earned a big old fat contract because of that. So
yeah, just reliable. I mean,
he always had a couple games. He was always good to miss 2 to 4 games, but he almost just made up for it. And that's kind of why we all thought Alex Madison was so good, because he always stepped in and made things okay for those 2 to 4 games. So
the only season he started every game in his career was the 2022 season, which was his last season with the Vikings. Last full season with the Vikings. But yeah, always kind of dealing with his shoulder mostly, but dealt with some other things here and there as well. But
current free agent.
Yeah, and a good Viking, just a good guy, good player, represented the franchise well. So yeah,
if you're upset with Dalvin Cook as a Vikings fan, then you're not a real Vikings fan because he only ever did positive things for the team.
All right, 34. You're up.
34. Trying not to cheat. I can't really think of anybody.
There's a pretty good one in recent history.
Okay. Oh, are you talking
back.
Andrew Sendejo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the answer, too, because when I was looking earlier, I remember thinking this was probably the first one to make me think, like, wow, nobody's really had this. Like, Sendejo, which he was a hard-hitting, old-school era defensive back, and I think he kind of got, innovated out of the league because he just couldn't pull back in the way that Harrison Smith innovated his own game to stay within the rules as much as possible. Sendejo, yeah, he's probably the best Viking to wear, 34. But somebody could come in and overtake that title if they really wanted to.
So Vikings Wire and Pro Football Reference have Ricky Young, a running back from before our time, 78 to 83.
I forgot Herschel Walker wore this number for the Vikings, which he never, really, all he did for the Vikings was set up the Cowboys for their 90s dynasty and not really anything for the Vikings. So, yeah.
There's that. But there's another one. Who was it? Oh, there's who's the current 34? Do you know?
I saw it, so I cheated, but it's Nick Muse.
Yeah.
And that's a crowded tight end room, so.
Yeah.
All right. 35. There's one clear cut. It's a little tricky.
Marcus Sherrills.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I like Marcus Sherrills. Yep. He was a fun player to watch, and not that long ago. He didn't end his career 5 years ago?
Yep,
hardly. So, yeah, and most of his time was in Minnesota. Just a fun player to watch, mostly returning kicks and punts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I forgot Sherrills. He even played long enough to play at US Bank Stadium, too. I kind of forgot about that. Electric punt returner. Only played for the Vikings and the Dolphins. I thought he had a Jets tenure at one point, but obviously I'm wrong because stat-wise it's only listing those two teams.
But 35 is another one of those numbers that...
Come get it.
Somebody could take it. There's not a whole lot of guys that have worn it, and...
There's no Adrian Peterson on this list. So,
yeah.
If you can be better than Marcus Sherrills, which not crapping on Sherrills at all, he was a very fun player to watch, but if you can be better than that, you can do it.
36, I would say, is another number that falls in that category.
Mm-hmm. I can't really think of anybody. Was it Robert Blanton was a 36 wearer at one point?
You are correct, yeah. 2012 to 2015.
I can't think of anybody who currently wears it, so I'm just going to de facto say Blanton.
36 is currently Najee Thompson.
Oh. I thought he wore 11.
He might have last year, but right now on the Vikings website, he's got 36.
All right. Yeah, not a lot of names. Yeah, so John Kirby from 64 to 69, he's the highest approximate value according to Pro Football Reference. It's got him as a right linebacker, so yeah, and he wasn't, a league breaker, so yeah, come get that number, somebody.
And there you go. All right, we're getting close to the end here because we're going to go up to 39. So I've got
37 more here.
I know.
Oh yeah, we got two more.
Casting the vision for the end here. Mm-hmm. Two more for me, one more for you, and we'll kind of wrap things up here.
Mm-hmm.
37. Again, another number that I just can't think of anybody that stands out. Jimmy Hitchcock. I'm cheating. I'm looking at the list here, but that's a name I remember.
Okay.
From my childhood.
I kind of remember Eric Frampton a little bit.
Okay.
But that's only from seeing it on this list. I wouldn't have... Sorry, Eric. I wouldn't have come up with that name right off the top of my head.
He was a DB, kind of high school, early college. But Jimmy Hitchcock was on that 98 team.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That, I guess, just looking at it now, he was only a Viking for 2 seasons. But he... I think he had 7 picks that year.
Okay.
For 242 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I guess everybody just went off that year too. So
that that 98 season.
Yep.
If you were on that Vikings team, it's a shame that team did not win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, this could take a turn of. we don't need to
take some beer. Drown your sorrows in beer. Number 38.
38. I think that is one that has weirdly been like shadow retired since Nafahu Tahi in the late 10s or early 2000s.
2010 was his last season.
Okay.
Yep.
I haven't looked at it yet. Are there any current? There's got to be at this moment current guys to hold that number because it's the off-season.
Jalen Williams.
Okay.
Second year.
Interesting.
Jalen Williams, cornerback.
And he wore it last year as well, I guess. It was after Tahi left the Vikings. Nobody wore that number again until 2019, at least in the regular season. So from 2010, well, really 2011 to 2018, all of those years, nobody wore 38. Come get that number.
Yep. It might be the most available number to make a name.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Pro Football Reference and Vikings Wire have defensive back Todd Scott from the early 90s as the best to wear it. And he was all right. He had 5 picks in the 92 season, 2 picks the following year in 93. Mm-hmm. So we were just babies at that point. We didn't even know what the Vikings were.
Yep.
But there you go.
All right, last one of this episode. Got number 39. There is a clear-cut amazing answer here, but I wouldn't have known it if I didn't look it up because this player played before our time. It's a name you've heard before, but you wouldn't think of it.
Are you thinking of Carl Lee?
That's the name that I see here on Pro Football Reference. So he's got to be the guy.
Yep.
Which, he's got 31 interceptions. Defensive back Carl Lee from the 80s to 90s. 31 interceptions, couple touchdowns. Played all but one season with the Vikings. That's 11 years with the Vikings, 1 year with the Saints. So, yeah, probably a Hall of Famer. I guess I don't know right now. But yeah, he is the clear-cut number 39.
Hussein Abdullah wore that number.
That was a fun guy to watch for a couple seasons.
Chandon Sullivan.
Terrible guy to watch for a season.
Yeah, but wore it in 22. Marcus Epps, another guy, and Perry Nickerson. A couple of names that I remember from a few years ago. So,
okay.
There you go. Well, that concludes numbers 20 through 39.
Like I said, the 30s, that's a rough stretch of numbers. I think players, 34 was kind of put on the map by Walter Payton, which is why I'm kind of surprised not every team has like a 34. Like Sendejo, yeah, he was pretty good, but I'm surprised there wasn't kids that grew up watching Payton and turning into a good football player and wearing it for him. Not so much for the Vikings. So the 30s were a pretty rough stretch. I think the 40s and 50s next week, there's some good names there.
Yeah, definitely some defensive players that will come out, and a few non-defensive players.
We could almost do a whole episode, and we almost did on one number 40, but we could almost do a whole episode just on the number 40 for the Vikings too. So.
That'll be a fun one to kick things off with next week. We'll do a little research. And
might not have any other segments that week, and hopefully this is a dry part of the off season, so hopefully we don't have like an arrest to talk about. I mean, we could be Chiefs fans and talking about their defensive tackle that has been arrested twice in the last couple of weeks now. Briggs, what's his name? He got released today. So, the 30s were pretty rough. The 40s and 50s should be pretty good. Got some good linebackers in there. That'll be pretty good.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's a good series.
Yep.
And we'll continue it next week with numbers 40 through 59. And we plan on going all the way up to 99. So the next handful of weeks, that's kind of the goal, is to get through 99, and then episode 50. We're We're gonna do something a little different.
I'm really excited for that.
I'm pumped.
So, listeners, let us know if you think we messed up. We kind of cheated a lot with looking at all of the actual stats for all these guys, but let us know if you think there's a Viking who was a better to wear the number than anything we've said. And also let us know, prepare us for next week, the 40 through 59. 40s and 50s. Let us know who you think are the best to wear those numbers in Vikings history. How can they do that, Ev?
They can reach out to us pretty much anywhere, but a great place to do so would be the comments on YouTube.
Yep.
So you can drop a comment, and you can also watch us. You can see our nice new dollar store mugs.
Yeah.
And
they're pretty cool.
You can see the little gift that I got Austin, and all that good stuff there. But email us, send us a message on Twitter, Facebook. We're pretty responsive.
Yeah.
Most places. So if you reach out to us, chances are you'll ping one of us, and we'll reach back out. And yeah, we'd love to hear any and all numbers for next week, 40 through 59. So if you've got a Viking that you know wore those jersey numbers, hit us up. Let us know, and we'll make sure we mention that jersey number, that player, and you. Yeah. If you're so interested in that.
For sure. This is kind of our version of going back and forth and just naming random NFL players.
Yeah.
Just for the Vikings.
It's a fun way to just sit and have a beer. And
I like it. It's nice. It's relaxing. And, Nafahu Tahi. That was a
oh, yeah. I remember that name.